Well, Mortis Kern Systems, or MKS, makes software to help businesses operate on the net. But despite demand for its product, shares of the Waterloo-based company have languished for the past 2 years. Randall Howard is chairman and CEO of MKS, and he joins us to talk strategy and share price. Good morning, Randall.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Fine, thanks. Thanks for coming in. So, e-commerce solutions, it's a bit of a cliche. What differentiates what you guys do from the rest of the pack?
Well, Howard, in simplest terms, MKS really provides e-business management solutions, and the focus is really in helping companies get online to the new world of e-business, and even more importantly, to keep running once they are there.
But specifically, what is it that this stuff helps them do?
Okay, well, we've heard a lot recently about the external security issues that happen inside companies, but even more critical is the whole area of internal, inside companies. There's basically a devil lurking within companies that people don't know about. Essentially, what an e-business is, it's a whole ecosystem that's interconnected, very complex software-based systems, and especially as e-businesses become more sophisticated. Now, some of those systems will face a customer like a billing system and an order entry system. Some of them will be in the back office like ordering and logistics and tracking and finance systems that the customer may not see, but the ability of those systems to work seamlessly together for the first time and serve the customer is really what's going to determine whether it's an online retailer or a financial services firm, whether a company succeeds or fails, whether it drives revenues or not.
And when you say external problems, you're talking about these hack attacks, but what about the devil lurking within? Specifically, what is that?
Well, you're right. I mean, with the whole area of the hacker attacks, it's kind of like if you think of the online retailers, there's a bunch of cars swarming the shopping mall parking lot, and so the effect is people can't get in the stores, they lock the door, but there's no intrusion to the building. What we're talking about inside a business is really the need for those complex software-based systems, and there in many businesses can be hundreds or as many 1,000 of these systems to work seamlessly together, and so it requires a whole orchestration of all of the software systems and all of the people who develop them through the change to make sure that those work seamlessly.
So much of succeeding in the public markets is making sure the story is told effectively. Do you think that this story has been told effectively? Do people understand your story?
Well, Howard, I think it's a question of who you ask. I mean, certainly when I talk to an IT executive, when I talk to people who really are building the e-businesses of tomorrow, like the Citigroups or companies like Walmart here in Canada, like Bell Canada, they certainly understand the story, because it's not just IT organizations, it's the CEOs of companies that find themselves on the front page of USA Today or the Globe and Mail, and you dig into the back page, and the problem is they have not taken the measures to inoculate their business against this whole issue of systems and software systems falling apart on them.
But what about, that's IT professionals and CEOs, what about the average investor? Why should the average investor give your company the time of day?
Well, quite frankly, we've seen the first stage of e-business, and the first stage is really characterized by companies dipping their toe in the water again, the banks and the retailers and so on, doing some fairly simple things. And so behind the websites, there's not a lot of complexity. But immediately, those escalating customer demands for the next 3 to 5 years of building out the e-businesses are all going to be based on integrating of those fundamental ecosystem systems that run the business. And so, in effect, I would put it to you, Howard, that we're the company that ensures that people don't shoot themselves in the foot. We really automate the best practices into those companies that can enable them to continue to generate the revenues that keep the stockholders going. And I think investors ought to be interested in that.
Okay, what's the growth strategy going forward? Internal, acquisition, what?
We have in the past and will continue to grow by a combination of internal and acquisition-based growth. What we see in front of us in a post-Y2K world is an accelerating investment in building out e-business to this second generation that I talked about. So we see that as we've hitched our tail of a company to that, we see tremendous growth in front of us.
What about the stock? I mean, the stock has, in a word, had the blahs for a while. The analysts seem to respect it, but the stock doesn't shine like, say, a Descartes Systems?
Well, one has to remember that this is a very cyclical world in the stock market, and quite frankly, as we continue to grow the business and get the story out there, which we're very aggressively doing, and show the success with our customers across the leaders and innovators of the industry, the stock will take care of itself. And we've seen a lot of stocks run up very quickly by a factor of 5 or 10, simply as investors start to understand the underlying fundamentals of a very solid business. And that is what MKS is at the core. It's a solid business helping real companies, both .coms and the incumbents in the industry, to succeed.
I don't know if we put the stock chart up yet or not, but it closed on Tuesday at 770, 52-week high 995, low of 260, a negative 19%. Any further comment on the stock price?
No, not really. As I said, the stock price will take care of itself as this opportunity unfolds, Howard.
Okay. What about targets for the coming year?
Well, what we're, for the current year, which we're in, which ends at the end of April, analysts are projecting somewhere in the 40 to 45 million range. There's a consensus set of numbers in the 40s. We report in US dollars, so that's much bigger than it sounds. The coming year, we've set fairly conservative expectations out on the street, simply because we see this growth timing as being very significant, and we're setting ourselves in a position to overperform the market.
Okay, what about competition? We don't have much time left, but Marant in the UK is one of your competitors. What does Marant do that you can learn from?
Yeah. Well, what Marant does is they have a strong incumbency in kind of the old world of COBOL and business programming and Y2K, whereas we've built our solution around the next generation of exciting web content integrated with all of this software. So we're definitely the rising star and innovator in this particular sector, whereas Marant has been around for a while, and their solution is starting to show its age a little bit.
Okay. Well, what about sales? How do you make sales?
Well, quite frankly, our sales are primarily direct. We do work with a number of large system integrators with the likes of IBM and a number of the new web integrators as well. But essentially, we go into a customer and we spec a solution, install it, and make it work to keep their businesses running as they move to e-business. And that's it's a very simple proposition, really.
Okay, 15 seconds left. What's next for the company?
Well, really, the next is what we've seen in year 2000 is this tremendous growth starting to happen. I'm very excited about the prospects as we go forward and continue to build what we see as a significant $500 million or more opportunity in this particular market. That's ahead.
Okay, Randall Howard, Chairman and CEO of Mortis Kern Systems. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.